looked him up.
His name is Buttman.
There was a dude named Buttman. Named Buttman. So he's the biggest dude in the prison. All the people was afraid of him. But Buttman, the thing is, what he would do is he would basically gather up, and he'd have a whole bunch of other people help him. So the thing is, he was real big, he was real strong, he was the biggest inmate in the prison, and a lot of people was afraid of him because he was so big. But he really couldn't fight. That's common with a lot of real big dudes. A lot of real big dudes, they get strong, and if they hit you a few times real good, you're in a bad position. But they can't fight really that well. They're just big and strong. So G Street from the New Jack, he's explaining that eventually he had a one-on-one with Buttman. You know what I'm saying? He had a one-on-one where everybody in the prison was like, hey, y'all go on a one-on-one. And he beat Buttman's ass kind of. He beat him up pretty bad. You know what I'm saying? And Buttman was salty about it. But see, it got to a point where, and season 1, it goes on for a while. So it's like I say, it's brutal. It's brutal, but it's pretty good, man. It's crazy. It's insane. You would never think these things would happen in the late 90s. But remember, like I told y'all what's going on. They send the most predatory inmates from one prison to prison in Louisiana. There's kickbacks. That's how the wardens and stuff get money. You see what I'm saying? And so the guards participate in prostitution of inmates. So they might get a dude that can't defend himself, and they'll say, all right, well, they'll tell like, a predator, like a booty bandit, like, okay, all right, well, look, you do this or you do that, and it's a money system. It's a money system. When you talking about Cassie and Ricos and stuff, it should be Ricos in the Louisiana prison system. That's why they don't want the feds there, because what I'm getting ready to play for you right now, they don't want them there. They want corruption. They want people to be harmed. This is like the modern day slave system. And just for, shits and giggles, proof of me saying the modern day slave system, this used to happen on the plantation. A lot of people don't really want to talk about this, but this is something that has been going on. I remember if you ever watch any of the Hidden Colors series, Tariq had made a documentary called Buck Breaking. It was uncomfortable, but the documentary was basically about race soldiers and the plantation, and just even now, how they buck break black folks. Not necessarily doing something sexual, but it's psychological buck breaking too. On the plantation, remember, what they would do is the slave masters would sometimes violate males in front of the whole. They wouldn't just whip them, they would violate them in front of all the other slaves to make them like, okay, well, he's weak, he ain't a man. That's what they would do. They also did this to children. See, these are things that aren't really talked about a lot of times because they're very, very uncomfortable. But that's what they would do. The slave masters would violate women, children, men. I mean, I hate to really say this, but I think they used to go as far as toddlers. I hate to say it. These white supremacists were demonic, bro. They felt like you're property. You're not a human being. You're 3/5 of a human. That's what they put in the Constitution during that time. You are not human. You're cattle. You don't have emotions or feelings. I could do what I want to you. I own you. So, reminiscent of the old plantation system, convict leasing, peonage. There's a documentary on Netflix you might want to check out called, I think, the 13th Amendment or 13th or something like that. I found it very interesting that they didn't mention Joe Biden and the Democrats with the 94 crime bill. That should have been a spectacular piece of that documentary. It's a good documentary, but they kind of tap dance a little bit around that. That 94 crime bill is one of the more pinnacle parts of our criminal justice system in America. And they should have covered that, and they didn't. And they did that on purpose, because you can't ignore that. But just talking about historical context, with Angola and the Louisiana prison system, it's directly connected to the slave system 100%.
And he ended up being in real severe condition. You know, they said he would never be the same. So he survived, but you ain't got to worry about him doing nothing else to anyone.
So I think he got paralyzed or something. Anyway, we'll go.
Was off. And he came and picked me up. Because that's how I was able to, you know, go see my girlfriend before I make it back to the group home through him. He was doing.
So I want to fast forward to the next part. He got out of jail. G Street got it saying he got out of jail. And I can't remember what happened when he went back in. He went back in because I think what happened is, you know, them POs sometimes be on you, oh, get a job, this, that, and the third. And he's like, well, I'm about to violate myself. That way I ain't got to stay on parole. I can just go back in a little while, do my time, and be done. And I ain't got to keep reporting to y'all ass. So I think this is what happened. Let me see.
And radio for backup. So, you know, we in front of the police cruiser. And I'm like, man, what the fuck is that? Come to find out, Jubin had fell back in his old ways.
Okay, so giving y'all a breakup for this season 1, episode 1. The way how he got landed up in prison, he was going to a halfway house. He got out, he was trying to work, do a job. He got out, he was dealing with some nigga named Jubin. Jubin was at the halfway house. He was gonna take a ride with Jubin to leave work or something like that and go on the way to his girl's house. They got pulled over by the police. You know what happened? This grimy ass nigga Jubin had still been out. He was on parole too. He was still serving. Now G Street saying I wasn't selling no drugs. He was just trying to work. He was trying to keep a clean path. But you know the rule. If you are a felon, you can't be around no drugs. Jubin got pulled over and he had drugs on him in the car. So you being a felon, you automatically, that violates your parole.
And had 2 ounces of crack cocaine under my seat. Now, whether or not he take his own charge or not, I'm a convicted felon that's on parole. I can't be around nothing like that. No using no drugs, no selling no drugs, no being around nobody who do nothing like that. So in the process of the officer backup getting there, they start handcuffing us, and I hear Jubin say, man, all that's mine, man. He ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm just giving him a ride home.
So now, we'll give Jubin credit. Jubin took his charge. You know, a lot of niggas that be up in the car with you, they be like, oh, man, it ain't mine. You know how most niggas is. They ain't gonna take their charge. Jubin said, hey, that's mine. He ain't got nothing to do with that. Police ain't trying to hear it.
Now, you know, ignorance is no defense in court. It's a law called being aware of your own surroundings. I should have knew what he had in his vehicle before I got in his vehicle. I should have asked him, and that's true. So now at this point, I had did 6 months in the halfway house and only had 2 more months left in there. And now I'm headed back to the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison, to Central Booking.
Now the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison, that's the same prison that these 10 inmates, Solomon, got out of. Just to give you some context to what he's saying, so you know he's telling the truth.
Before me getting to Central Booking, I'm calling my then girlfriend, you know, now wife. I'm calling her, babe, you gotta get me out of here for all this shit pop up in the system and my parole officer see this and they put a block on me where I can't get out. You gotta come post my bond. Now at this time, she trying her best because we ain't as stable then as we is now. I'm just not coming home. So I hadn't had time enough to do anything, you know, and she was doing the best she could, you know, and she just didn't have the money at the time. So she was trying to raise the money to hurry up and get me out of jail before everything started popping up.
All right, now, those 3 women that we just talked about that helped set up those guys to escape, Now you heard what happened to this brother. His girlfriend's working. He's fresh home. He done got caught up with this nigga from the halfway house that didn't tell him he had dope in the car. Your bail's $1 million. Now his bail's not $1 million for this. This probably happened, I think he said around 06, 05 or 2000, 2001. We were just out of high school. He's older than us. You help escape somebody from jail with a $1 million bond. You're not getting out. This is typical what he's saying here. Some folks ain't got money like that.
In central booking, well, you know, they put a hold on me. But that didn't happen. I end up going on K2. On fucking K2. I'm back in prison. After only being out for 6 months, I'm back in prison. My head smoking. Now, in the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison, I don't talk much about it because ain't too much happening there. Because as I fell in there, I damn near knew all the guys that was in there. Because I done been there so many times. On just even, you know, bench warrants and all kind of little different things, you know. So it wasn't no bigger than. Plus, when I did just get my big amount of time when I ended up in the prison, well, Buttman then was, I was in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison first. You know, that's where we landed before we get shipped.
So you'll stay in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. Those 10 inmates was in East Baton Rouge Parish Prison getting ready to get shipped. When I say shipped, transferred. You going to Angola if you got life. You going over here. You may go over there. If you got a certain amount of years, whatever they deem you to be. And remember, I told you, with the alleged kickbacks, we're saying alleged kickbacks here, you gonna go where they send you. You don't get to choose where you go. You don't get to say, well, man, you just put me in the prison right by my family, so it's easy for them to come visit. No. You go where they send you. You don't get to choose.
Now the hoes that fell on me. Now I can't go nowhere. And I know if once I can either violate myself or try to take this thing to court, and that's just gonna burn out time, and I'm gonna be convicted anyway. So I violated myself. That
was smart. Now, those guys, the guys that we're talking about that's in trial, you know they're gonna get found guilty. So they're probably gonna end up pleading. Think about this as a juror before we go forward. You still there? Hello?
Yep, I'm still here.
Think about this as a juror, bro. You got a charge with a second-degree murder, domestic abuse, whatever you got charged with. The least the guys got charged with, I think one dude got like a pistol charge and some drugs. That's one of the inmates. That ain't nothing compared to what everybody else got, but it's still, you know, a violation. Do you think that a jury is gonna show any mercy on you and you broke out of jail if you go to trial? No. You're gonna plead. I'm talking about the dudes that ain't got convicted already. The dudes that got convicted already, like Groves and some, like 3 others or whatever, they were supposed to get shipped. But like I say, the criminal justice system is slow, it's BSing, it's doing whatever. I don't know. So they get sitting in that jail. G Street is basically like, okay, I'm on parole. And you could tell, like, he didn't have a lot of time. I mean, time is time in Louisiana and anywhere. But he didn't have a ton of time. I don't think he had a ton of time. So, of course, he didn't get shipped initially to Angola. The place that he's getting ready to get shipped right now, I believe it's Angola. He hasn't revealed it yet till, like, now this is season 1 or season 2. So this was talked about almost a year ago. This is old when I'm playing, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea on what these guys are gonna meet once they get there. So I'm gonna try to fast forward a little bit and we'll go, hold on, let me see.
Myself say, well, sending me to a hard labor prison.
Hard labor. All right, so let me go back to there. Let's start there. Hard labor. What prison is hard labor? Angola. It might be another one, but I believe it's Angola.
Guilty, you know what I'm saying, without saying you guilty. You know, so myself. Violating myself, thinking I'm doing the right thing, being honest. And I end up going back in front of Bonnie Jackson. End up going right in front of her again. Now, when you violate yourself, that's like pleading no contest, you know what I'm saying? Saying you guilty, you know what I'm saying, without saying you guilty. You know, so, you know, I'm thinking.
All right, Bonnie Jackson, Judge Bonnie Jackson, Honorable Bonnie Jackson, Baton Rouge City Hall. He's not lying. I'm looking at this woman right here. Now, this is a sister. She probably got sick of him. She went to Louisiana State University, Herbert Law Center, 1978. One of 5 African-American students to graduate from the law school that year. Before serving as a judge, Jackson worked for the East Baton Rouge Parish Public Defender Office for 14 years, while she became the assistant director, a position she held until the launch of her judgeship campaign. Bonnie Jackson was a judge for Section 1, Division K of the Louisiana 19th Judicial District Court. She left office December 31st, 2020. He's not lying about this, people. He has paperwork. All right.
She gonna say, well, you know, we just gonna give you this amount of time for you to, you know, reflect on what you did and then let me out, maybe, you know what I'm saying, give me 85% of what I had to do. No, this woman tell me, you just not got out and you back in my courtroom again. I'm sentencing you to 3.5 years.
Now, y'all, this ain't 3.5 years Minnesota time. This is Louisiana time. This is a whole different ball game. And you're going to see why I said that when we play this.
That's more than the time I had left on parole. And this woman says she's sending me to a hard labor prison. This prison where I'm going to, we got to go out every day and work. Because in this prison, we grow our own food. Everything we grow, we eat. If you can't grow it, you don't eat it. You eating cow tongue, you eating all kind of things. And a lot of people gonna know what this prison is. But like I said, I don't want to.
I believe that was Angola, bro. I can't prove it, but it sounds like Angola. Let's see.
Say what prisons until I finish all the episodes. That's just what I'm doing. You know. So, you know, I stayed in the parish maybe like a month. And then one day I heard my name on the list for transport. And all they was doing was putting us in separate lines. At this time, I ain't even knowing where I'm going. They just called my name to be transported. And here I go again. I'm thinking to myself, how did I let myself slip and fall victim to this shit? I'm mad as hell at Jubin.
Fair use, YouTube, fair use.
Even though he tried to take his own charge, I'm mad as hell at him because you came and picked me up with this shit in the car. And you knowing you wasn't too long got out and I just got out. And I'm trying to get home to my family and now I'm going back up again. I'm thinking, man, I'm about to lose my girl. I'm about to lose everything, man. My girl pregnant now, everything. Because like I said, I was riding with Juba to go be with my girl. That's the only reason why I wasn't catching the van back to the halfway house. So I can spend this little bit of time, this hour and a half with my girl, now wife. You know, not knowing if she gonna stick it out with me or be like, man, this stupid, ignorant mother. I'm back. I put myself in this situation, not choosing carefully who I deal with. Now, to make this situation even worse, Jubin was back selling drugs, so he had money saved and he bonded out. Jubin was fighting his charge from the streets. And if I remember correctly, Juven actually went on the run. So okay, now I'm back. I'm back on this prison bus, shackled down, riding.
All right, now I want you to listen to this. If you still here, Solomon, I want my listeners to listen carefully. This is what they gonna see. If this is what I think it is, it could be Angola. This is what them dudes is going to get into. They say hard labor camp. Soon as they get off that helicopter, this is what's exactly gonna happen.
Like, man, it seemed like this ride taking forever. We ride for about 2 hours.
All right, now he said 2 hours. Let me bring up my map one more time. Let me bring up my map one more time. All right. So Angola from Baton Rouge. Well, he said it's about 2 hours. It's a 60-mile drive. So it could be Angola because they can have stops. I'm not sure, but I'll let him talk continuously.
And then we come to this big old prison. But on that bus, I met a guy named Robbie. And Robbie was the first timer. He like, hey man, look, I don't know you or whatever, man, but if you look out for me, I'll look out for you, man. I'm trying. And I'm like,
now Robbie is Price. Price ain't never been to Angola, Solomon. And a lot of them other dudes, they haven't been, I don't believe they've been nowhere. Because they got them charges like that. They would have already been down. They haven't been in any major prisons in Louisiana at that time. But this is going, you hearing Robbie, this is going to be how they sound when they get on that bus.
And then we come to this big old prison. But on that bus, I met a guy named Robbie. And Robbie was the first timer. He like, hey man, look, I don't know you or whatever, man, but if you look out for me, I'll look out for you, man. I'm trying. And I'm like, hey bro, yeah, this ain't my first time, but I feel where you at, you know what I'm saying? And we can look out for each other or whatever, you know, but I'm knowing Robbie, he a little skinny dude. He ain't gonna be much help to me up in here. We going where the big boys at. You know what I'm saying? We going to a level 2, level 3 prison. Hard labor. You know?
Now he said level 2, level 3. So maybe that's not maximum security. But as he said, level 2, level 3, that ain't nothing to be played with. That ain't the same level 2, level 3 here in Minnesota. Whole different ball game.
And I'm disgusted at the time. And finally we pulled up to the prison. And we pull up at the prison, I see this big old gate, guard towers, and everything. It's a whole different shape. It's in an L shape with an X like line going through it, and then it got a square in the middle. It's completely different. Just the outside of the prison. And even though I done been to prison before, I don't care how many times you go to prison, you still gonna be nervous upon arrival because you don't know what to expect. And if this prison anything like the prison I just left, I'm about to have a rough time. And it actually beats twice as worse. You housed totally different. Now I'm going here for a drug charge, and I don't sell no drugs. And I'm going in a prison which is made up of mostly people for armed robbery, murder.
Now that's where those guys are going, Solomon. All them dudes that had escaped, they're not going to no small little like lower. They're gonna send them somewhere that it goes down. They're not gonna. Well, first they're going to Angola, so they might stay there for a long time. But yeah, they're gonna get sent somewhere where it's gonna be a lot going on.
Kidnappings, all kind of stuff like that. That been in this prison, that then floated around, and like I said, I ran across these two dudes named Monroe and Broomfield.
Now Monroe and Broomfield, that's when he met them there. This could possibly be Angola, possibly. Because remember when I talked about Monroe and Broomfield? Broomfield was the one that was involved in killing the NFL player's mother that was a cop.
That actually killed a police officer. If you look those names up, you'll understand. These guys had been in there since the early 90s. You know, for killing a police officer. So when you get to this prison, they take you to what's called the annex intake. And, you know, they ask you a bunch of questions. If you got beef with anybody, you know, have you ever harmed somebody's relatives? Or do you know anybody in this prison that can possibly want to cause you harm? Are you suicidal? They do go through the whole run through. So I'm like, oh man, I'm already knowing this big trouble just by the questions they asking. You know? And when I went to the other prison, they did not ask me all these questions. They asked me about the suicidal thoughts and different stuff like that, but got beef with this person and have I harmed somebody's relatives before and different things like that. Am I in a gang or did I, you know, have I ever participated in, you know, drive-by shootings or anything with different neighborhoods and anything they need to be aware of. And when I tell you after we did the intake, they took us to this room and they did a full cavity search. I mean, thorough. Man, I felt despicable. I felt low. I felt lower than low. And plus now I'm in here for a crime that wasn't even my crime. Yeah, I was a party to it by being in that vehicle, but I didn't start my day off with the intent that I was going to sell no drugs or be involved with no drugs or be involved with any kind of crime. I was actually trying to do the right thing. I wanted to make it home to my girlfriend and my soon to be coming son. But that ain't happened. And the guy that got me involved in all this, he's actually home. So now I'm sick. So now we doing what's called placement. And when they do the placement, they call your name and the inmates in the prison takes you to where you going to be
Sounds like Angola. I don't know, bro.
placed at. And where they takes me to be placed at, they call it the mortuary.
The mortuary? If you heard something like that, what would you think?
I'd escape. I try to escape before I go there. Fuck that. I take my chances.
The mortuary? What? Oh,
Yeah, that's pretty fucking playing for, man. They letting me know you ain't coming back.
Oh shit, the mortuary. Oh my gosh.
He's gonna bury you right here.
Jeez. Okay, let me keep going and then we'll go into I'm gonna keep playing this and we'll go into the Diddy thing in a minute. Man.
I'm going to the mortuary. I'm asking him, why they call it the mortuary? And old school look at me and say, sleep with one eye open or you gonna find out. Now I'm terrified, like damn. You know, and this an old school dude, he got gray hair, but he got muscles on top of muscles. I mean, he got burnt marks on his own, but they black. They ain't even like a pinkish looking, they black. He just all wept up and bruised up, even his face. Looking like he just had a rough life all his life. So I'm just imagining when we get on the other side of this door and we walking down a long, like, little breeze walk. We on the outside. We comes out one door and walk on the breeze walk where we can see the fence, actually where you fenced in with the barbed wires and all that. And we walking up a breezeway to another door. And when you open that door, that's where you gonna be at. And when I walk inside this door, I see tears. And I'm like, man, fuck. And every tear cell is popped open. Old school say the cells pop open at 5 and they don't close until 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Damn.
Every day. So that means inmates can come and go all day. And then it's 4 to a cell on each tier. Like this. Top and bottom. And when I walk up in there, it's just like the other prison, but twice as louder. You hear guys saying, just a whole bunch of nothing. You can't even make out what they saying. It sounds like they just plain old ignorant back here. Man, you see guys mopping the floor, mopping on top, on one tier down here, they 2 guys mopping on either side, 2 guys up there mopping up there. You see people sneaking people's stuff already. I just got up in here and you see illegal activity happen already. So old school say, hey, youngster, hey, watch yourself in here, man. Cause it's every man for himself up in here. He said, you see all the way to the back, and I look all the way back there, and they got a door. He said, on the other side of that door is the key. And that's where the guard's at, right there, right outside this door. It ain't no double corridor. It's on the other side of that door, that's where the guards stay. And ain't no camera system. They just popping keys to unlock the cell and everything like that. And inmates have no entry that way.
I told you, when they lock them doors, when they lock them keys behind there, you on your own.
So it's only one way in for the inmate, one way out for the inmate. So now he walks me all the way down close to the end, at the bottom, in the cell. And when I get in there, it already got 3 dudes. And I'm talking about they big as a motherfucker. So I go up in there, I put my little stuff up, and now we got foot chests. There's no more lockers. Foot chests that you share. Remember I told you in other prisons, things was different. It's foot chests that you share. It's chests at the end, at the bottom, that the top bunkie and you on either side share a side of that. Y'all gotta put a space in between y'all stuff and knows whose is whose. So that can start conflict. Somebody else got access to your commissary or whatever your personal stuff is. And like I said, I'm a drawer and I don't like everybody to see my artwork. Cause a lot of that stuff is private for me. Because of the things I draw. Sometimes I just draw what I see. And what I feel at the time. So it's no privacy at all. The other prison wasn't no privacy either, but this is twice as worse. Now when another person pissing shit, you this close to it. Okay, now I done caught y'all all up to me being in this new prison. Now, I'm going to start bringing these episodes back to back to back to back.
So basically, he starts talking about some of the characters. And season 2, it gets ramps up. I mean, folks getting stabbed, folks getting their ass whooped. And the way he explaining it is crazy. So, just to give you an idea, or the listeners an idea of what these dudes are going to face when they get to Angola, that's exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be no weapons. There's going to be no guns. They're going to have to rely on fades and weapons. And they just may not have it. That stuff that they did in the streets is not really going to carry over to them in Angola. Folks in Angola really don't give a damn. They ain't really tripping.
That's if they catch the sick. Or they already caught one. Trayvon's been captured.
Well, Trayvon is when they catch him, you said Trayvon's been captured?
Yeah, he did. There, I sent you the link.
Okay.
They got him about it. He's only out about a day and a half. But
Yeah.
the 5, the big 5, they're still on loose.
Interesting. Now, according to the evidence today today, it looked pretty good for Sean. It looked pretty good for Sean because Kid Cudi couldn't prove. I mean, he said he was, they smoothed it out when he went to testify. That was actually good for Sean with Kid Cudi showing up. Now, you weren't a fan of him telling. What was your issue with Kid Cudi?
Take him stand at all. He had no reason to be up there.
Not really. I mean, he didn't do anything to him, according to him.
Because I heard his career is not really hot anymore.
Well, it's still hot now. Now we can't do that. Now he's still viable. He can still fill up a stadium. Pretty much almost. I mean, but
he probably just wanted to be in the news, But here's the thing:
he was subpoenaed.
Next week is Victim 2.
What's this Victim 2 about? What's all this about?
The second girl. Cassie wasn't the only girl he was doing freak offs with.
All right, who is she?
Well, we'll find out Monday.
See, that's not fair. That's not fair for Sean Puffy Combs.
That's fair. That's not. Well, it's fair for the fans because they already know she'd have got paid like Victim 3 got paid.
Victim 3 got paid?
Is not, you guys not answering her phone.
Who's Victim 3? We don't know who
they
she
didn't release her. I think they did, but they didn't. It's just not somebody known.
Victim 3 is not expected to testify in the Diddy Combs federal criminal trial. Source says this came out on
not corresponding with the Fed, with the attorney.
You're saying she got paid?
But Victim 2, yeah, of course. Why? I mean, but for her to be at one time a Fed witness, that must have mean the Fed talked to her and got everything squared.
3 sources familiar with the case told CNN that Victim 3 is the woman who has been referred to as Gina.
Yeah, Gina.
So Gina
got paid. No, she got her money. You can already read between the lines. You know what I mean?
So there was really no point for her to come. No point at all.
But here's the thing with Victim 2. Victim 2 is got a story to tell and haven't asked for any money.
Interesting.
Victim 2 is smart. No, Victim 2 is smart. Victim 2 probably has a real lawyer, not Busby or whatever. The real lawyer told her, just hold on. We got all the evidence we need. Let this some bitch get found guilty, and we won't have to worry about nothing.
We gonna come back later on the back end and get that $100 million.
We'll come back. We got a book deal coming after you testify. We're gonna have a book deal, big time CNN interviews. That's gonna be a bag. And then we're gonna sue his estate. Don't worry about it. He already told her we got this hook, line, and sinker. For the feds to bring her in as a witness, he done did something to her.
How confident do you think that the evidence will be email, audio, or DNA? That's what we need.
100%.
100%. You're pretty confident.
Yeah. 90. What is the Fed's record? 98%. I'm 98% confident.
So I heard something. I don't know who this was, but I heard something about a dress.
They got him with this girl. Yeah, they got him with this girl. I think they got him. They got him with Cassie's mother, and then they got him with this girl. All that other shit was Kid Cudi testifying was a total waste of time.
Yeah, that helped Diddy, if anything. It really did.
Yeah, that was a total waste of time. Unless he took a payday and switched up what he was going to say.
Well, but here's the interesting thing about Cudi. Cudi said, hey, we made amends. Cudi said we made amends. Cassie,
the feds didn't know that. Why would they have him testify if they knew that, he made amends? He was a Fed witness.
No, they didn't know. I'm going to tell you how they didn't know. You couldn't pay Cudi for that. Cudi got money up to gang. He don't need the feds. He's not taking no pay deal from the feds if you're talking about, and that's actually illegal for the feds to do that. But Cudi's just, he was real cool. He called him a Marvel hero, a Marvel supervillain, and we shook hands and we talked, and there was no police. That's not, but that's just him. He's not. Cudi wasn't up on the stand like, oh, man did me wrong, and I don't, they shook hands.
All the feds wanted the jury just to hear that he broke into his crib, they wanted to present the pattern that he was obsessed with Cassie.
But they had no proof, like none.
But what blew up in their face, what blew up in their face was this: is when he went to Cuddy's house. Guess who gave him the address?
The Alexander or the one lady. She was on
Cassie.
Yeah, Cassie. Yeah.
Now why would a girl give the address to a ex-boyfriend?
You wanted a fight.
That don't make no sense, right?
You
wanted him to fight, or he held something over her head. Bitch, I'm gonna kick you out the apartment that I'm paying for. I'm gonna kick you out of the studio. Ooh, if you don't fucking tell me his address.
But here's the nice thing about it.
Not just the address. Also the security code to get in.
Wow, I didn't know there was a security code to get in. You know,
of course. They just go walk in the kid's house.
Now you say she's not on trial, but that should make her credibility for what she says to be shaky. And here's why: because you say you didn't have nowhere to go. You done met a Grammy-nominated $1 million triple platinum Lady Gaga touring ass nigga. You had somewhere to go.
Tricking. He probably wasn't tricking to the point like Diddy was. And does Kid Cudi get high?
Yeah,
probably not.
Yeah, but you weren't dealing with him anymore. You're with Cudi now, so you can't say that Diddy has something against you.
I still got to keep Diddy because he's dangling my career over. Because if any time he was playing with her, anytime he could have gassed her career up. And all the time he was with her, but if you notice something, he never gassed her up. He was just he held that carrot. He dangled that carrot over her head, and at the time she was a major drug addict.
He did like the Democrats.
Wait a minute. You know, I'm a drug addict, and he's always getting high. And if you've seen that pouch and shit, he had an assortment of drugs with him at all times, right next to him, in that pouch. So, you know, you got to think, if you're a drug addict and you're dating somebody that's constantly getting high, you're not going to really totally leave that motherfucker unless you get clean and sober or you find somebody else that's going to do what? Support your habits.
Are you saying that she was using drugs before the diddler?
Probably not, maybe so, but at one point she's addicted to drugs.
Oh, okay.
And when that addiction comes in, when a female is hooked on drugs, that is the number one female looking for a simp. Because she's looking for somebody to support her drug habit. I have a former employee of mine. This motherfucker, he's got his drug habit or her drug habit. So he's got to work twice as hard. And he would turn down jobs that would pay him $500 at the end of the week. He'd turn it down for a job that would pay him $60 or $70 a day, just because he needed that daily money. He's got two habits to support.
You told me about a story. It's a segue, but you told me about a story a while ago when you were working in some warehouse where some dude came up trying to threaten some other dude. Were they drug addicts?
What is this now? Say it again.
You told me a story about some warehouse or something you worked at a little bit where you were doing some management, and somebody came to the job and somebody was talking about they was gonna threaten somebody's girlfriend because of this, that, and the third or something. Were they drug addicts?
Oh no! Were they on drugs? I have to say, quite possibly. They were younger people, but I know that she would show up sporadically, and I know that she was about 21, 22, and I definitely would smell alcohol on her breath a lot. So I know there was a drinking problem. So I'll tell you the whole story. So it was a job was called Go Puff. Go Puff is like kind of like Uber, but it's for it's a warehouse that's got merchandise. So it's like a little mini Cub food.
Okay.
And then you order shit online. We go onto the floor and grab whatever you order, put it in a bag, put your address on the bag, and then give it to the driver. Then they deliver it, right?
Okay.
Okay, so there's a Somali guy who was a driver. He came in and we locked the door, and then he banged on the door. And she told him, don't bang on the door or something. And he said, I'll do whatever I want. She said, no, you won't. And he said, bitch, you ain't finna do nothing to me. You know, Somalis, they don't, he said this to a black girl from over north.
Oh, hell no.
So she's ready to fight him. So I separate them two, and just tell him to go ahead and clock out, man. You good. Just, go on and get out of here. He's a driver, so I don't really have a whole lot of jurisdiction over him. So I told, I just separated them. So her boyfriend worked the morning shift. Okay. So I come in for my shift and he's clocking out, right? He's getting ready to go home. So the other worker tells me he's got a gun, on him. So I go, he's out there smoking a cigarette, and I go talk to him. I said, what's going on, man? I didn't even remember what happened the night before with his girlfriend and the driver. So he's telling me, he's like, yeah, the driver, he disrespected my girl. And I think he said he was going to hit her. And I can confirm he did say he was going to hit her. Like, I slapped the shit out you, bitch, or something. So he was like, I'm gonna shoot him. I'm like, bro, what happened to just fighting him? I was like, why don't you just put the gun in your car and just when he pulls up, because you can see on the computer when the driver's going to pull up and start his shift.
Right.
So he knew when he was coming. So he was bracing for it. So I knew there was about 7 minutes. I'm like, I got about 7 minutes to talk this guy out of this. So I'm like, bro, put your gun in the car. When he pulls up, fight him. And I promise you, I act like I ain't see it. He's like, nope. He said, this is the exact quote. Phil, I don't fight, I kill.
Oh, man.
So I said, look, man. So I hit him with the final stinger. I was like, look, bro, you going to shoot this dude. You going to get a maybe 15, 20-year piece. Guess what? After about 6 months, you're going to have a whole new man. What you going to do then?
Quicker than that.
He was like, nah, nigga, she's going to hold me down. I'm like, she's not busting a nut for 20 years? Really? Oh, wow. I never met nobody like that. Is she going to be a nun?
She got rent paid. She got rent need to get paid, too.
Yeah. Is she going to be a nun? She's not going to have sex for the rest of her life while she waits for your ass? I could kind of see it was kind of, getting to him. But then he fought it again. He's like, nah, nigga, I'm shooting cuz when he pull up. So you know what I did? I lived across the street at the time. You know what I did? I took my name tag, I clocked out, and I went home.
Yeah. I would have did the same thing.
I went home. I'm not going to sit up here and watch this bullshit. He's got the gun on him. So I go home, and then here's what ends up happening. I didn't see this. He ends up pulling the gun on the Somali dude. The Somali dude, his wife was a rider. She got out the car and got in front of it.
Whoa.
Yeah, she was. I didn't see any of this, but it was confirmed by 4 or 5 different people. She got in front. I don't think he was really going to shoot him. I think he just wanted to, you punked my girl, so I got to kind of get an edge on you. So then somehow the situation got, separated. They both got fired, and then that was it. But it goes to tell you, and I was just talking with somebody else about that this morning, about why these kids are shooting now. They don't even fight no more. There ain't no more get off the school bus and fight. Well, it's a thing that nobody talks about is when you fight, okay, 2 people get in a fight. Yeah, we agree to fight. You win the fight. Guess what you just won? You won the assault charge. Because who wins the fight gets the assault charge. So you start thinking, wait a minute. If I beat this dude up, I'm going to get an assault charge. I might as well just shoot him. Yeah. I say, if 2 parties agree to fight, and it's clearly that they've agreed to go outside and handle this, and there's no weapons involved, let it go.
You mentioned Tupelo, Mississippi does that. Is that true?
Well, they got open fight night on Saturday. Well, it's the first Saturday of the month. Open fight night. That means if, as long as a person agrees to it, you can't be ambushing nobody. If you got some motherfucker that you had, at your job or somebody that's been bothering you, you say, hey, motherfucker, come on. If he says, yeah, let's do it, you got to fight. If he says no, you can't just come up and hit him.
So basically you're saying on that night, y'all can have a friendly fade and be done with it.
If both parties agree. And there's no weapons involved.
So what do the police do?
Nothing.
They just
maybe
watch.
break it up. If one party is whooping them, you know, they might break it up.
Okay.
If one party gets the best out of the other guy, you know, they might want to break it up, you know. But besides that, no, they ain't gonna do shit. Not on that first Saturday of the month. In Tupelo, but you both gotta agree. You can't just be you walk up to somebody and start hitting them and shit.
When did you first hear about this subject?
Oh wow, probably 94.
That
95.
sounds like some old school stuff. I don't know if they still got that rule in place.
It might not. I don't know. It's been years since I looked it back up. You know, but it's about 94, 95. Well, first I'm about 11, 12 years old, Tupelo, Mississippi.
Now the forensic part, do you think that helped Diddy's favor?
I sent you the picture of Janice.
Well, I don't think that'll weigh too much in court, but you know, I think when the forensics,
that's a pattern. His mother is a pimp.
Can that be proven?
Well, you got Freddie P said that she was promoting, so when Making the Band got hot, they were doing shows and Janice was promoting these shows.
Okay.
So they had to go to Janice to get their show money. So Freddie P walked up to her to get his show money and she put the cash in her underwear. He said, "Come get it."
Did he get his show money?
He didn't go that far. He didn't really elaborate after that. Janice said, "Come on, get it," you know. So now, in your studies of hip hop, what have you heard about Janice?
I've heard bits and pieces. I mean, within the last couple of years. Before, I'm gonna be honest. When No Way Out came out, that was after Biggie passed. And when Biggie passed, that made Puff Daddy rise to the roof. Far as artist wise, he had the Hitmen. He couldn't really rap, but you know, he had all about the Benjamins and all of that. And he had Triumph and all. He had all these hit songs.
He took sampling to the next level.
Yeah, it really brought him. I mean, everybody had that. He became a household name artist, not for bars, but all the people he had on there, you know, and eventually.
But what else did he do? What else did he? What he did is he ushered in an era where guys would have ghostwriters and not be embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
You know, like he was the first nigga to be like, "I don't write rhymes, I write checks." Like he was bragging about this shit.
Yeah.
At a time where that was, you know, prior to that, it was kind of shameful that you didn't write your own shit. You really couldn't stick your chest out like that.
Yeah, but the only way that the way he got around that is he had hits. He changed the game. He had Mary J. Blige out here. He had Faith. He got the Hitmen. He got Biggie, the Lox, Lil' Kim. I mean, you know, so people can say, okay, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Craig Flavor in your ear. That was platinum. I mean, that, you know, I don't remember any other single. Oh, for sure.
Didn't he have some singer dude?
Let me see who else.
Outside of Notorious Big, what artist did he make the most money with?
I would say outside of Biggie.
Yeah.
Shit, probably.
Like what artist?
Probably himself. The Puff Daddy and the Family album.
So did he ever drop a solo album?
Puff Daddy and the Family. So basically it says "and the Family," but you know he getting all the money. So those solo albums that he was dropping, P. Diddy and the Family, and the one with G. Dep and Black Rob and all that, he has people writing for him. He had people, I think 50 Cent might have wrote for him, or like he got folks writing, doing all that. He's
was writing for him before he became famous.
Yeah, so 50 probably was ghost writing and maybe hopefully even getting publishing as well. He was ghost writing for him, just like with Kanye and Sci-Hi the Prince and Pusha T. Kanye ain't sitting around writing no damn rhymes like that. He ain't got time. So if he wants to.
Did he go platinum?
Oh hell yeah!
As an artist?
Fuck yeah!
Really?
Yes. Hell yeah. Matter of fact, let's
So
look
he
this
was,
up.
outside of Biggie, he was Bad Boy's most successful artist.
Man, P. Diddy sold more than Biggie when he went.
What about Shine Poe?
Sean Poe, I think, went platinum or gold. That album, I think that Bad Boy album, I believe that went. The Bad Boy, the album itself went gold or platinum. I think it went platinum. Now, Combs' debut album, No Way Out, '97, he had Mace, Carl Thomas, Faith Evans, Foxy Brown, Twista was on it, Genuine, The Lox.
Yeah, isn't that too much?
No, not really, because you got to look at it as a compilation. He basically saying, look, I'm the boss. You know, I'm going to take some Biggie lyrics. He had the I'll Be Missing You, all about the Benjamins, Victory. You know, it was all about him. And he got the Hitman doing the beats. He threw Twista on there because, remember, Twista was the first, and I always talk about this all the time. Do or Die and Twista. Do or Die was the first people to bring that fast flow. And right after that, and this is something I wanna let me see if I could pull this up. Yeah, they were the first ones to really do the fast flow, and then Biggie started doing it.
I got a real question. I got a real question for you. Now, the money that Biggie made off of Shine, show money, everything, publishing, all that, did it overstate the money he spent on attorneys for Sean Poe pulling that move in the club? So did he make? Did he? If you take the law, him paying for the attorneys and then all this to the girl suing Diddy, did he end up making money or losing money with Shine if he tie that in?
He still made money because he had, not only did he have himself, he had other artists and he was gonna turn some profits. But I think it wasn't something that helped him. Like, you know, that wasn't something that, you know, that never helps when you're involved in that kind of stuff. Because here's the thing, you're saying bad boy, but you ain't trying to be like, you ain't Suge. You know, you not like no Chief Keef or no, you know what I'm saying? You not really trying to, you ain't from the streets like that. You're not tied in like that. Like, you might be tied in with people or whatever, but you don't want that kind of image. You definitely do not want that kind of image at all. You see what I'm saying? So, that definitely didn't help. So he probably, after that, you got to think, J-Lo skipped town. She was like, okay, you know, I ain't really trying to stay with you. Sister probably would have stayed with him. But, you know, J-Lo was like, hey, you know, I don't want to be dealing with this black shit. This is too black for me.
She got arrested too.
I think she was either arrested or questioned or whatever it was too much to where she said, okay, this is too much nigga shit going on. And you got to think, she never really... Go ahead.
Was that your first? So the way he kind of sold Shine down the river and kind of disassociated from somebody who was trying to legitimately protect Diddy. Was that the first, like, time you looked at Diddy kind of suspect?
Oh yeah. And then after when that dude came on, that was like one of the first times. Then the dude had some issues with his publishing.
He sold Shine down the river, right?
Oh, absolutely. Basically, Shine kind of just kept his mouth closed. You remember that song that Shine came out with, and you had a lot of issues with him not with his accent. And remember, I told you, Shine is Caribbean. He's from Belize, so he sounds a little different because he probably ain't been around them folks like that. But you know, Shine, I watched the whole documentary on Hulu. He still kept it silent with Diddy. Diddy was trying to call him up and basically say, well, oh, just say I didn't do this and do that. And he was just letting Diddy know, like, look, man, this is over. Just, you know, just do your thing, man. Like, I'm not going to throw you completely under the bus, but I'm not going to keep lying for you. You know, he lied. You got to think where Shine went, bro. He went to Dannemora. He went to the worst
was
maximum
his first-
security system in New York. He went to Dannemora. It's literally, they call it like Siberia. It's literally right before Canada. It's freezing cold. They sent him to the
Did
worst
Diddy put
prison
money
ever.
on his book?
You said what?
Did Diddy put money on his book?
He might have gave him a couple bucks, but bro, you can't really just imagine Angola but being in New York. You're talking about the worst prison.
That's your first time that you looked at Diddy like, man, you're kind of fucked up.
Well, when I seen that they split the co-defendant or they did something like that, I was like, oh, okay, what's up with this? And then, you know, now
So
around
Diddy was, in your eyes, Diddy was a guy that was credible prior to the Shine incident.
I'm
He
gonna
was
be
credible
honest.
in your
I, you know, the No Way Out album was a good album, but I always looked at him like dancing in your videos, like shook. I always looked at. I'm gonna be honest. I never really took him serious as a real artist. I never did, even when I was a kid. I just looked at him as.
But you never said he was. This guy's a slime ball and he's a discredit to rap music. And he's hurting the black
I didn't
community.
really see
You
it
never
like
thought
that. Not really. I looked at it as this is a black man that done made it. He getting that white
You
money.
respected him.
Oh, for sure. And still to this day.
Shine was strike one.
That was strike one,
Now,
and then
I
the
do-
cheesecake
now,
did it too. The cheesecake
the what
really
cake?
did it. That
What is
cheesecake,
it?
the cheesecake did it. When I heard about that
Oh,
cheesecake, I said, "Man, you got these niggas walk. I would never walk for no cheesecake."
Now, you also had a problem with the vote or die campaign.
I
that he
wasn't a
ran.
fan of that because, and that really put my tinfoil up because I'm like, okay, nigga, you ain't mentioned no reparations. You could have just said it. You didn't mention
Nah.
reparations. I'm like, okay, so now I'm like, okay, you said vote or die. So you're saying I could vote or die? My life is worth a vote? No reparations or die? That was a big one for me, bro. That was huge. I said, oh no. And then I seen him with Obama.
2008, right?
Well, I voted for Obama because I didn't know what I didn't know. We didn't know no better, man. If we would have known just a couple more years, if we would have just maybe had the new black media on us, maybe like 3-4 more years later, we would have been all right. We would have been able to. So when people come up to us talking about, well, you ain't got no vote, no opinion, and your ancestors died so they could vote and all that bullshit. Yeah, they died so they were killed because they tried. They didn't die to vote. They were killed because they were black, and they were murdered because they